welcome to the channel. It's Whiskey Wednesday again. Back on my channel, not live with Cobra. That was really good fun. So, how you all doing? Hope you're all well. Crazy times it is at the moment. Right, let's get things kicked off. We've got a nice bottle of Balvenie. This is very nice. It's very nice, and we'll kick it off with that traditional cork. Always sounds super cool. In shiny precious metals glass, full of ice. On APM's placemat that he sent me, which is really cool. So, cheers everybody. Whiskey Wednesday has started. Little word of warning. This could get a little bit passionate. Could be a few words said that maybe some people don't like. Hopefully it doesn't offend you. But who knows? It's Whiskey Wednesday. Anything can happen. So let's go through the normal formalities of Cobra Stacker's end on the display, on the wonderful backdrop I've got. It's good old Cobra Stacker. Moving along, we have Camel Finance. Little Camel sitting in there. Stack Collector sitting in there. APM. Addicted to Precious Metals. Poker Chip. Stevens Poker Chip. Stevens Channel Round, which is up. Channel Round, which is absolutely superb. Daft Precious Metals, Stacker Social Poker Chip, and we have 365 Corner down the end there, which is super cool. Nothing's really changed on the backdrop. I love my backdrop. I'm so lucky to have that as a display. So, cheers again. Cheers, cheers, cheers. I hope everybody that comes to pay a visit to Whiskey Wednesday is okay. Well, I hope everyone's all right anyway. Right, let's do a quick recap. Last week's Whiskey Wednesday, as you should know, if you watch the channel on a regular basis, was live on Cobra Stacker's channel, which was really cool. Really appreciate what he did for me there. We had a good laugh, a good giggle. I can't remember what half of what went on, but I know one of the biggest things that went on was my giveaway, my 500 subscriber giveaway. Now, I posed a question on there, and I think it was along the lines of, let me have a look. What was the actual question? I've got it written down somewhere. Always on a Whiskey Wednesday. I'm never that organised, but I'm not that organised. Anyway, but the question was, what was the name of the first video in which I mentioned my interest in Bitcoin? Right, okay. Not that many people replied to this, which sort of like, I thought, oh, for God's sake, man, you can't even give money away. People aren't really interested, but hey ho, it is what it is. And I'm just going through the replies now, and I did say that to enter, you needed to put your replies and the answer as a comment in the live chat that took place on Cobra Stacker's channel. So we had a few people that come up with some ideas. C.Y. Sterling, he said the headache of understanding money. Let me have a look. There wasn't that many. Jim Wen, the heartache of understanding money, or the headache of understanding money, part 2 of 2. Very observant. Ooh, someone put risk and volatility. I have no idea what that refers to. Maybe I did a video on that. Dream or reality? No. The headache of understanding money, part 1 of 2, from Scott Silver. James Headache. James Elliott. The headache of understanding money, part 1 of 2. Jay Dizzle, the headache of understanding money, part 1. 365 Days of Silver. I'm disappointed in you here, dude. The heartache of understanding money, part 1. Topics, dream or reality. Someone else put topics, dream and reality. Blistering Radicals put topics, dream or reality. Shiny Precious Metals, the headache of understanding money, part 2. And that was it, which I found absolutely disappointing. Thank you very much for people that bothered. It was really cool. But I was just really disappointed. The actual answer to that was the heartache of understanding money, part 2 of 2, which 2 people actually got right. Now, well done, you guys. And that was Jim Wen and Shiny Precious Metals. So the giveaway is for 1 person. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to email both of those guys with the same question, with another question, and whoever gets that right then wins outright, and I'll announce that next week. But getting back to the giveaway, I was just like, what? Am I disappointed? I'm not disappointed for the winners and the people that took part. I'm really pleased and I'm really, really appreciate that. But what disappoints me is you can't even give money away. Now, some people might think, oh, I'm not interested in Bitcoin. Well, that's fine. That's fair enough. But I know a lot of subscribers come over from Camel Finance's channel. Now, I would have thought quite a few of those would be interested in Bitcoin. And to be honest, I'm quite disappointed that more people that follow my channel have turned down the idea of having free money, really. I know some people will turn and say, oh, it's not money, it's Bitcoin. Yeah, but just convert it over if you're that worried about it. And you could have, add a few quid. It's weird. I can't get my head around it when you try to encourage people to learn about certain things, and you just can't even give it away for free. So, yeah, I'm really pleased for Jim and Shiny Precious Metals, because now one of them's got a chance of winning it all. Fair play, good luck to them. Thank you very much for everyone that bothered. That was super cool, but yeah, I'm mad, absolutely mad. But hey ho, that's what it is. What it is, and yeah, that's done, dusted, and I'll announce the overall winner next week. What else has been going on? Stack Collector's been doing his thing. It's been quite quiet out there, to my knowledge, with UK stackers. The Stack Collector's been doing his thing on a regular basis, which is super cool. Camel Finance has been doing his thing on a regular basis, which is super cool. Cobra Stacker had a auction last Friday, which I managed to be a part of for 40 minutes, and I was absolutely knackered. There's a good reason for that. And I didn't see the rest of it, but I've caught up with him obviously since. And yeah, he had a good auction, which is really cool, interesting actually. Who else have I seen? 365, yeah. I love his channel. He's been firing on about this April Fool's thing he did on the 1st of April, which is really cottoned on, and his channel's done really well out of that, which is fair play. I've never hidden the fact that I've always appreciated his creativity and how his use of social media is, yeah, he's right on it. He knows how to build a channel, that's for sure. without a doubt. But as a rule, I was talking to Cobra earlier on today, and we were saying like how quiet it is. Now that includes me. I've been quiet. I've got excuses, but they're just excuses, which is a load of old crap, really. But we've all got excuses. But it's interesting how quiet it is. What isn't quiet, what isn't very quiet, is the marketplace. And especially in precious metals, in silver, that's not quiet at the moment. There's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of creator talk. There's a lot of general talk. There's a lot of marketplace talk. I love these coins, and so cool, especially in 10 ounce. They're nice and big, and you can see the detail in them. But yeah, silver's having a bit of a, I'd say, a bit of a rip, which I think is oh so overstated. I know a lot of YouTube channels and a lot of companies like to say it's ripping, but my idea of ripping is very different to other people's ideas. But it is on the up, or it has been on the up, should I say, which is interesting, which is why we have this to a degree, and why we collect tubes of this to a degree. Last but not least, nice 10 ounce Britannia. But yeah, silver's having a bit of a run, which is super cool, and that's why we end up stacking and collecting silver for moments like this, which we will go into in a little bit more detail going forward. Yeah, silver's let me take the camera back a bit so you can see it, zoom out a bit. Yes, silver's been on a bit of a charge upwards, and that's creating lots of interest, which is good for silver. It's creating lots of creator content. It's creating lots of content for precious metal dealers. Yeah, there's a lot of hype around it, which from a psychological point of view, it's very interesting indeed for me to follow. Now, not only that, another precious metals that we like, gold. The gold is having a good old rip-roaring, or it's had a good old rip-roaring charge up in value and price, which is fantastic. I love this one. I love that design. It's really cool. So yeah, gold is another one, which is doing very well at the moment. We're going to talk about my opinion on all of this, and it is purely my opinion. Nice phoenix. That's really nice. I like that. Yeah, it's doing very well indeed. Nice little Britannia there. Just going to put a few bits out just to give us a bit of eye candy for Whiskey Wednesday. Another Britannia, which is cool. Once we put a couple more out, maybe. Another Britannia. There, which is cool. And then surprise, surprise, another Britannia. 2006 one, which is super cool. It's really cool actually getting these out. I've realised what I had, to be honest. And you don't. I'm going to just get out a couple of 1/10 ounce as well. So yeah, we're going to put a few of those out. Ooh, my favourite little kookaburras. Most of you have probably seen these before. There's another kookaburra there. So yeah, gold's on the charge too. Well, it has been anyway, which is super cool. Another little kook. Bit of a rare kook, that one. Which is great. That's it, not putting any more up. That'll do. And a lot of this, maybe not, who knows, I don't know, but we'll talk about it more as Whiskey Wednesday continues, is all about our wonderful money system. This stuff, fiat currency. That's I've got a few euros here as well, just to put out on display there. Yes, we have lots of issues around our wonderful currency that is having a bit of effect on, well, it's having quite a bit of effect, it has done, on our silver. Nice African wildlife elephant silver coin there, and that's having an effect on our gold too, which is what I'm into. But obviously, the only thing I can't show is the other thing that's been of great interest recently to many people and is getting talked about is Bitcoin. Bitcoin as well. All seems to have been in the starting to get into mainstream media. All the creators, whether they're into their Bitcoin, silver, gold, general finance or whatever, there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of I don't know, from my point of view, I'm very clickbaity, creator building stuff, which becomes very confusing for the everyday Joe average person that is trying to invest their fiat currency from wherever they are into trying to protect it. And it's difficult. It's a hard, it's a very hard place to negotiate, especially when things are in such an up and down turmoil state of affairs. So, like in true great fashion on this channel of mine, I'm going to try and talk about my journey through these times. And on a Whiskey Wednesday, it's really interesting. Normally the build up over the week and the week in between Whiskey Wednesdays, I have so many ideas, and I should write them down actually. I go through so many emotional ups and downs with all sorts of things. And I always think, oh, I'd love to be talking about that on Whiskey Wednesday. By the time Whiskey Wednesday comes, then I've probably exhausted my brain with ideas, because I haven't written much down. I have a tendency to forget about what I've been thinking about all week. But I thought what was quite appropriate today, a video was posted by a creator, and it sort of gave me a bit of inspiration for tonight's Excuse the lorry going by. A bit of inspiration for tonight's Whiskey Wednesday. I've got to try and find it. It was from Scott Silver. Now, Scott Silver, as you can probably hear,
folks, Scott Silver here. Just a quick video. Silver and gold are doing miraculous things at the moment, aren't they? And sort of gold at all-time highs. Silver creeping up and creeping up.
So, Scott Silver posted a video today. What do I do? Now, go and watch it. It's really cool. Really cool. Basically, in a nutshell, and hopefully I don't get this all wrong. He was explaining that on his journey of silver and gold stacking, collecting, which he said he hasn't been doing it for a long period of time. But of course, like all of us, some may have experienced things like this happening before. I doubt it, unless you've been stacking or collecting for a lot of years. But anyone new, quite often when there's a big shift in market sentiment and the way the markets are going, then it produces questions. And Scott Silver's quite rightly put out there, what do I do? Do I carry on buying? Do I knock it on the head? Is gold going to come down? Is silver going to come down? Is it going to keep going up? Etc., etc., etc. And throughout that video, he's explaining his dilemmas, that not in a nasty way, but the thought processes of what do I do? What do I do? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? And he asked for questions, and maybe indirectly, I presume he's reaching out just for people's opinions to help him make up his mind of what he wants to do. Now, I've found that really interesting, because I think all of us probably, if we are genuinely being honest with ourselves, all have those same issues, but in different ways. Now, quite rightly, as I've mentioned, all this stuff has been doing some stuff that we probably all wanted to talk about over the past couple of years, but then all of a sudden it started to do it. And then it's like, oh, oh dear. Now what? What do I do? Do I carry on buying? Is it going to come down? Is it going to go up? They're the real legitimate questions. And if anyone's into Bitcoin, then that's the same thing. I'm not going to talk about anything else in particular, because I am really only into Bitcoin, silver and gold, as well as stocks and shares to a degree from an investment point of view. But I've noticed in people's channel comments that people are reaching out and asking for answers now. In different ways, shapes or form. Some people like a direct answer, some people don't. They just like a little bit of reassurance. So of course you reach out to a community. Now we all know the dangers of that, and we all know the positives of it as well. Firstly, I want to try and talk about my dilemmas and my thought processes that are going through my mind. Now, none of what I'm going to say is any advice whatsoever, and I'm going to try and explain it just from my opinion, which in a way is advice. I hate all these bits and pieces, this political correctness bollocks. But it is the world we live in. Now, negotiating yourself around all of this FUD, fear of missing out, clickbait, is really, really difficult. Now, me being an old fart, as some people will probably say, I'm not in this young generational full-on, totally hyped in, wired in to social media. But I know a lot of people are. It's pretty evident when you go out and about. Most of us are just constantly, and me to a degree, are just wired into our phones, which is incredible, really. Absolutely incredible. But it is what it is. Now, when we're like that, whether we're on YouTube, TikTok, not that I know much about TikTok, not that I know much about YouTube, but you get my drift. There's a lot of social media, and there's a lot of getting your head around what you absorb, and that can be quite difficult, very, very difficult indeed. So, what I try to do is just to keep myself in the real world. What I call the real world is not get too hyped up into my phone and the social media platforms that I use for my information to educate myself. I try not to, but it's so difficult, and I get it. I get how difficult it is when it's just become a part of our lives. But how do I negotiate myself around it? Now, you've all heard me go on, and you're probably sick and tired of me. Some of you may be sick and tired of it, but I don't care. It is what it is. If you don't like me going on about educating yourself, then quite easily just turn this off and don't watch my content. But I believe in it so much. I really do. I really, really do. And it's helped me risk assess and protect quite a bit of money so far, which is good. Cross fingers. So how do we negotiate ourselves around it? Well, the first thing that I would say is you don't need to do anything, but I need to, and what I needed to do was sink my mind into what I'm trying to achieve. Now, a lot of you have probably heard this story, but I'm just going to repeat it. You need to find some channels that are going to help you on your journey. And part of that help you on your journey, although this is really difficult to do sometimes, is channels where they are not trying to somehow clickbait you into following them, wanting to sell you an idea, sell you anything really. And that's really difficult for a lot of us to negotiate around, because most, I don't know, this could be unfair me saying this, but there is normally a good reason why people are building a channel and creating a channel and being creative. And fair play, that's what it's all about to a degree. But it is and it isn't. All depends where you sit on the fence, really. But you have to try and negotiate yourself around that. So part of education is to recognise what you're attracted to and why you're attracted to it. Now, if it's just to marry an idea of what you're hoping to achieve, then that's fine, that's good. That can be a good psychological nudge, give you a bit of confidence, give you a bit of get up and go to carry on doing whatever you're doing. But it can also dampen your mind. You can end up marrying ideas. And trust me, there's some channels out there that just want you to do that, because that's a benefit to them more than anything. But it's down to you, or it's down to me, to try and negotiate around that and recognise when I'm falling into that trap of, oh my God, here we go again. I'm only watching this because it makes me feel good. Well, that's important, because making us feel good is good. But it's equally good to know that maybe I'm following this idea and I'm blinding my way away from the truth and reality of what's really going on. So step one for me is to recognise that, and then to have a broad educational view list of people that give me very different ideas, very different case scenarios, and I believe that's been very healthy for me, for sure. And I'm probably talking too much, and maybe I'm losing a few people, but hopefully I'm not. So that's really important, because self-recognition of where you are is really, yes, definitely really important, because you can lose your way, you can get blindsided, we can get fucking lazy sometimes, and end up just watching stuff that we want to watch, and that's good, but it's not ultimately very healthy at all. Well, it isn't for me anyway. So, getting back to Scott Silver's dilemma, what do I do? Now, one thing I have realised is that we're playing a game. We're all playing a game. We enter the game, or we don't enter the game. We enter the game with our rules, or we enter the game not knowing any rules, or we enter the game on someone else's rules. And that's something you've all got to try and work out for yourself. The good way to enter the game is on your rules. Set out your rules, set out your goals, set out what you want to know, what you don't want to know. Set out a rule of, I'm happy to... I thought someone was coming in the studio then. It's either a squirrel or a bird running across the roof. Bless them. Yeah, set out your rules and how you want to play the game. And then spend a lot of time... I know lots of people don't like to hear this, because you just want to be told after time, but it don't work like that. It doesn't work for me, that's for sure. But it has worked out, and it is continuing to work out for me, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But you've got to know your rules entering the game, and then you've got to spend time learning the rules of the game, which I have no idea about. I've got a lot more of an idea than what I did when I first entered this game that I'm playing a few moons ago now, but every day's a learning curve. So you've heard me talk about Camel Finance. He's one of my go-to places for a certain set of information that helps me understand those rules that are being played out there. That has been of great benefit to me. I don't necessarily marry Camel's rules of how he's playing the game, but he offers so much information on how the game's played as a rule, if that makes sense. I know this is all very riddly, but just spend time thinking about what I'm saying, and it will make sense, hopefully, if you give yourself time to digest it. So that's why I promote, not promote as in he's paying me or anything like that, just promote. He's been a great help and a continued great help, which is why, as a channel now, we are running these whiskey and rum episodes, which another one's going to be coming out very soon. because I trust the information that is broadcast on those episodes in a way that hopefully it will open their eyes up and encourage them to go down those educational routes more. And that's all it is, nothing more, nothing less. Cobra does the same. Cobra comes from a totally different element of, I don't want to say finance or anything like that, but of what he's doing, and he's got a massively great, quick learning curve of what's going on in obviously the gold and silver marketplace. So I find that very useful for me in my journey. And hopefully that will be very useful for other people watching as well. So that's the reason why that was set up. But getting back to Scott's, you have to bear with me on this Whiskey Wednesday because I have so much I want to express, but obviously I haven't got a lot of time. But I just want to try and put across the importance of, investing in yourself and investing in educating yourself during these times. Now, getting back to Scott Silver's question again, just have a quick drink. So the rules are, you've got your own rules that only you know about, and then you've got to go out there and understand the rules of the game that you're entering in. And most of that, as you've heard me explain, is about the Monopoly board, chessboard case scenario. Go back through my videos to find out what I mean by that. Now, there's a game being played out by a what I call it the boys' club. There's a game being played out in this big financial world, I believe. And it becomes it makes a lot of logical sense to me, especially from my old brain point of view and what I've tried to learn. There's a big game being played out, and that game just happened. It continues. It will always continue. The wealthy elite side of what runs our financial system will just run. It will run. Totally run. Whether I'm in it, you're in it, anyone else wants to dip their toe in it, play about in it, regardless whether you're in it, out of it, it will just run and happen. Now, I think to get a bit of an understanding of what's going on, you need to understand that that actually exists. And for most of us, definitely for me personally, before I even put my little pinky into this pond of investment, had a bit of an inkling. Always thought, oh God, a lot of this political stuff doesn't make sense, but I was so tied up in my everyday bloody existence and life, being a dad, family, whatever your circumstances are, you're tied up, you're working your nuts off, you're grinding away on that hamster wheel, and you've never really spent a lot of time thinking. Maybe you have, but for me, never spent a massive amount of time going on this deep dive educational route of, possibly what could be going on or not going on. So, cut a long story short, that I do believe, and it's just in my opinion, it makes sense to me that game will be played out regardless. And a part of that game is gold, silver, anything that you're investing in at that high level, gold, silver, obviously the modern cryptocurrency, I hate saying cryptocurrency, but it's cryptocurrency, digital assets of all descriptions, commodities, bond markets, etc., shares, stocks, you name it. It's all going out, and those guys at that level are playing the same games that we're trying to do at our level, but in a totally different, at a different level to what we can even imagine. And the greatest way for me to even start to get my head around it is when you go down the educational route and start to look at money as a rule and the history of money and how much money's out there, learning about M2 money supply, learning about the the deficits that countries, the US, the Europe, England, wherever you're from, working out, what's this deficit, and then you work out what's a million. We all know what a pound is or a dollar is. We all know what $10 are. We all know what $100 are. We all know what $1,000 are. Most of us have had the privilege of knowing what $1,000 looks like, and then we get into the tens of thousands, then we get into the hundreds of thousands, which for most of us plebs and peasants, we only get that idea when we look at the value. It's another topic of our properties, because that's the biggest value of, if we're lucky enough to own it or be paying a crazy mortgage to hopefully own it one day. And then we go on to the Del Boys, the only false and horses scenario, where we talk about being a millionaire. I know certain channels refer to millionaires and the so-called status of being a millionaire. We've got a bit of an idea through lotteries and all that dreamy stuff now. And then we jump to billionaires. Now, billionaires are a recent thing. And then we think, okay, I can't even get my head around a million. What's a million? God, what's a billion? And then we start talking about trillion. Now we're talking about ridiculous amounts of money. Do just look up, what does $1 trillion look like? What does £1 trillion look like? How big is that? What does a billion look like? What does a few million look like? And let alone quadrillion. Then we can understand what the big boy game is globally, and we can start to appreciate how insignificant, although we'd all love this, and I know I hate showing this on my channel. It stinks of, oh, look what I've got, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But I can't express it any other way by showing it sometimes. But at that level of game that's being played out, we're talking about money that I've never even comprehended in my head. And it makes what I do so insignificant. So insignificant. So, once I started to get my head around that, then I realised that there's a game being played out at a global level with money that I can't even get my head around, but it's real. And that's having a massive effect on how I'm looking at my investments at my level. So now I've got, at that stage, it was a bit of a game changer, because now I understand what I said a little while ago. The game will be played out, regardless whether I'm in it, not in it. I do play a part of it on the little hamster wheel every day. But the bigger picture and the bigger game, it will always be played out by the big boys and the big girls. The boys club. It exists, it's out there, and it's far beyond anything that I even imagined or could imagine it was actually, of what it actually is. And we all think we know it all, but we know fuck all, that's for sure. That being said, it's cool to know it. So we're sort of indirectly getting on to Scott Silver's question. So what do I do now? Probably up to the beginning of this year, I think that with all, well, me personally, and my observations, as a rule, we've all been sort of chugging along, hoping that silver's going to be a good investment, gold's going to be a good investment, all looking at past history, because that's part of education. And we can probably, unless you're sort of an age bracket that has lived through the last financial crisis, in a working capacity, and it's really affected you, or even later than that, the ups and downs of markets and the crashes and the bits and pieces that have gone on. Most of us have probably lived that, oh yeah, silver, let's just look at a bit of history. I haven't really experienced the deep history where, silver went up to $50 an ounce. No, probably not a lot of us have lived through the gold when it was like $100 or £100 an ounce and blah-de-da-de-blah-de-blah, probably over most of us over the last 20 years. We've just been plodding along. The money bubble's been good to a degree. We've all been okay. And I think there's been a probably, rightly or wrongly, over the last couple of years, there's been channels popping up, bringing up history, saying that this can't go on, fiat currency can't go on, it's got to crash, and then there's loads of rabbit holes you can go down. The best way to protect yourself is silver, gold, and then, with Bitcoin has come along, cryptocurrencies have come along. And it's like, oh, for God's sake, man, what's all this about? What's all this about? And all the time, you're trying to process that at your level, at your lifetime, trying to believe what you want to believe, probably going back to what I said earlier, marrying certain channels. Oh yeah, they say what I want to believe in, so I'm going to follow them. And what you've got to be careful of is people know that, and they play bloody games with it, and they're building channels and creating channels on the back of people's, I hate to say that, but I'm one of those people as well, people's naivety. And it's so easy to do in a social network setup. It's so easy to do because you're just dealing with a screen. You're not dealing with a person to person. You don't get a feel for that person. When you meet them physically, out and about, it's all hearsay. And people will only tell you what they want to tell you for whatever reason. Which is why I've always said, a lot of the times, and I used to have at the back end of my channels, trust nobody. What did I used to say? Trust nobody, verify everything, and I live by that, to be fair. But that's difficult to do on social media. But anyway, we've gone through this bubble where everything's good, and then I think possibly what I began to recognise is there's been an element of truth when you go down the route of learning about money cycles, global money cycles. There's some great videos out there understanding it, about different empires, gold standard, why there was a gold standard, why there isn't a gold standard, that, all those different things, and that takes hours and hours of watching and educating. Just steer clear of people that are trying to sell you shit, because they don't want your money. So that brings us up to 2024. That's I think last year, personally, I witnessed a lot of fear-mongering and jumping on the bandwagon from people just trying to build channels and sell you stuff. So, brings us up to this relevant question, what do I do? And that's all been brought about because all of a sudden gold and silver, but especially gold, has done this extraordinary thing that most of us have not witnessed before so quickly. And that's almost brought a bit of panic in. Yeah, there's a lot of creators out there that, oh, look, I knew it was going to happen. Yeah, bollocks. Yeah, maybe you did know it was going to happen, but I'm sure you didn't know it was going to happen now. And then there's a lot of people jumping on that bandwagon. I get emails every day from main dealers saying gold is up. Now's the time to buy gold. You know, it's all this pressure, and it fucks with your brain, because you think, do I buy it? Do I not buy it? Getting back to Scott Silver's dilemma. But for me personally, and I know it's not going to help everyone here, it's been very advantageous for me personally to be able to have done quite a bit of work over the past couple of years to recognise building a base core or a core base of precious metals, and I'll talk about Bitcoin in a minute. And Bitcoin, because now, for me personally, and I'm going to talk for me personally, is that although I still get those questions go through my mind, oh, do I buy now? I was on a bit of a spout for 2024. I wanted to buy an ounce of gold every month. I've stopped that. There's a reason for that. I'll go through that in a minute. But I've stopped that. But I used to like, oh yeah, but I've got to keep doing it. I've got to. And then like I have to pinch myself in mind. Well, okay, I don't, because I've got a core allocation to it anyway. It's not as if I'm not in it, and I haven't got any. I haven't put some wealth into that to hopefully protect myself. You know, all blah-de, 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 blah. All that stuff that we've been going on about for years, and other people go on about for years. And the same with silver. You know, I've had a very up and down experience with silver since I've been collecting, stacking. And I will say I recognised a few things. I think I've said it before, the back end of last year, and I just decided to just stack a bit more silver, and I'm pleased I've done it now. But that's not to say that I'm pleased I've done it because I'm a genius. I'm just pleased I've done it because it makes me feel good that when I look back and I think, yeah, I called that right. I had a sneaky feeling that this year would be an interesting year. La-di, blah-di, blah. And it might be a good idea to just stack quickly a little bit more, you know, to my budget, which I did, which I'm really pleased about. And as you know, with Bitcoin, I love Bitcoin. I've been very heavy into the what Bitcoin means, what the possibility of blockchain technology will be in the future if we go down this digital route. And of course, we're going down the digital route. Lots of people say, oh, we're not going to do that. Well, yeah, whatever. I'm recording this on a phone. I remember when phones didn't exist. I remember when the first Nokia phones were around, the bricks, all that early innovative stuff. And it was, oh, yeah, will it be in? Will it not be in? And lo and behold, today, for most of you guys that are young, you don't know any different. And it is what it is. I'm sure a lot of you that are privileged enough to be in a position to have a phone wouldn't live without it, and that's evident every day I go out. When you go out to restaurants, where you go out every day, you drive past a bus stop, no one's looking for the bus, they're all looking at their phones. It's become an everyday occurrence. So people can have their opinion, but it's very difficult for me. It's extremely difficult for me to think that our financial system can't go down the same route, and it's going to. So I like the attractiveness of Bitcoin in a digital format, in a digital world, in a digital age where we're all living in a digital age. Lots of people argue against it, but Jesus Christ, they're using it all the time. So don't know where the argument comes from. So yeah, I love my Bitcoin, but the same's happening. The same questions I'm seeing that people are asking about precious metals is happening in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin at the moment is going through such a change. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs, but there's a lot of volatility in Bitcoin. There's a lot of interest in it. There's a lot of institutional interest. There's the halving coming up this weekend. There's all sorts of cyclical things that go on with it. I can't talk about it for that long because the subject is massive to me. But yeah, there's up and down, and I've seen with Bitcoin the same dilemma that as it's sort of the little bit the opposite at the moment, because I know people will be going, because Bitcoin has been a thing this year, especially this year. To me, it isn't. It's been for a while, but especially this year, because of, dare I say it, price, which is what we all seem to fucking live by, which is fine, it's fair. Sorry for the swearing, but I'm not. I don't mean it in a malicious way. But because we all live by price, then, you know, Bitcoin's been making some major moves in price. So that makes headlines, that makes clickbait, that makes creators in the social media setup jump on the bandwagon. I've heard people talk about it that haven't really talked about it in that way before. And I just thought to myself, I thought, wow. Oh, aren't we funny? We are so funny. We are either so busy in our lives that we don't take notice of anything until all of a sudden it becomes noticeable because of price, which is what we're all chasing, money, and that in its own right means that if we're just going to chase price, we have a little bit of a gamble, we jump on the bandwagon, we don't learn, we don't educate ourselves, we don't try and understand what's going on. And then, like probably over the last couple of weeks, you're getting quite a bit of volatility in Bitcoin, especially at the moment. And everyone's freaking out. Not everyone. The people that know. But if you just jumped on that bandwagon without, and you maybe risked some money that you probably shouldn't have risked, or maybe you're just pissed off because you risked some money and the horse didn't come in. It's just amazing me, totally amazing me. So, getting back to Scott Silver, now you've got the opposite going on with gold now. Gold wasn't doing much, silver wasn't doing much. Now it's gone through the roof. Now it's the talk of the town. That's bizarre. It's not bizarre. I get it. I so get it. I understand why it's the talk of the town. But on social media, it's very difficult, getting back to what I said earlier, is negotiating your way through people that are jumping on bandwagons to talk up stuff, to create clicks, to create subscribers, and you lose the process of what you think you're going to try and do or not do. Back to Scott Silver's question, what do I do? Do I continue buying? Do I not buy? Do I wait? Is it going to come down? Is it going to go up? You have to negotiate your way around the bollocks, and all the time you're negotiating around that. If you're a busy person, you've not got a lot of time to actually do the deep dive that you probably should have done over the last year or two. But we're all guilty of it. We really are. I hope people are following this thread of what I'm trying to talk about. Probably not. I'm blaggering on, but maybe if you watch it a couple of times it might help. So, what do you do? What do I do? Well, as I said, I'm pretty fortunate because I've got this base thing. So it's not the end of the world if I do something or if I don't do something, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. But to answer those questions, is the price going to come down? Are we going to see it back in the 1500s, 1400s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s even? You know, it's up in the gold is up in the 1900s. Silver. And I'm talking about pounds, not dollars here. Silver's hovering at, you know, just under £23, over £23 at the moment. Is it going to come down? Nothing goes up forever. It always comes down. I think what you have to ask yourself is, why you wait? Why would you wait? Why do you need to wait for it to come down? There's an obvious answer to that, obviously. But there's a deeper answer to that too. The obvious answer is, I can get more, I can afford more. Now, the second part of what I just said, if I can afford more, means that why am I doing it? There's another question there. Why do I need it to come down? Have I missed the boat? Have I not missed the boat? Well, if you're asking yourself those sort of questions, then maybe you need to do a little bit more research and try and understand what the big boys are doing here. What are they doing? What have they done in the past? Why are they doing it? Are they controlling anything? Are people buying it? Suppressing it? Could they? What's the reasons for it to go up all of a sudden? Maybe you should watch Camel's channel or someone's channel like that, or watch a little bit more Whiskey and Rum episodes with Cobra and Camel, and then you've got a bit of an inclination of what's going on. One thing's for sure is you ain't going to miss out on nothing. It is what it is. You get in to any markets at the time you need to get in. And what I mean by that is, it's no good reflecting on what you should have done, what maybe you should have done, what I could have done, or what will I do, what will I or can I do in the future. It's the present, you know. You've got to look at the present all the time, you know, because that's the only real thing. You know, that's the timeline that you're actually breathing and moving and making decisions. Now, it's not to say the past isn't a good educational process to go down. Of course it is. And it's not to say that the future isn't a good thing to speculate about. But it's all about the present. So it's really cool to, you know, bring yourself up to speed, and then I can't tell anyone what to do. There's lots of people out there that will tell you or give you advice on what to do, but that's not me. It really isn't me. It's not important. I don't know nothing about any of you, you know. All I know is what I see on your channels or the comments that you make. I know nothing else, absolutely nothing else. But if you spend some time actually listening, even going out. If you go out, there's a good point in case here. If you want to understand why there's such turmoil in the marketplace, why possibly fiat currency might fall apart, why there's this talk about the haves and the have-nots, or the haves and the have-yachts and the have-no-yachts, and whatever Camel says, I don't know. He says it in a lovely way. You've only got to go out and about in your local town. Now, unfortunately, I had to spend some time backwards and forwards to a hospital for family reasons this weekend, and I couldn't help but notice that the poverty around the hospital now. I haven't been for a long time, but the hospital I went to, there's people sitting around outside smoking. There's people that you think, oh my God, they shouldn't even be outside. They look like they're on death's door, smoking away, but all just look like they're just families are out there. And looking as poor as anything. I felt really guilty turning up in my car to pick my missus up and her mum and a few of her family and bits and pieces, and it was embarrassing, really. But that shows you that, that divide of wealth is getting really, really pulled apart. So there's a reason for that, and you need to educate yourself on why that's happening, along with, understanding fiscal monetary policy, where does the money come from? Where does my money go when I'm paying income tax and VAT, and where does that go? How is that spent? Is there such thing as a money tree? Well, in my life, I was always told by my lovely mother, there's no such thing as a money tree. There really isn't. But for some people in this game that's being played out, regardless of whether we play it or not, there is a money tree. Not a tree, but the concept is out there. When you start to understand that, you start to understand about interest rates and how it affects us. It's mind-boggling, and it's a real time-consuming thing. So the dilemmas of do I buy? Getting back to me personally, do I buy? Well, I'm buying a bit of silver still, if I can get it at a reasonable price. Back to price again, but that's reality. I'm buying a bit of gold still, if I can get it at a reasonable price. If I can't, I'm not doing it. But I'm lucky enough because I have some. I can't answer that question if I didn't have any. I suppose it would come down to how much disposable income I have got to purchase whatever gold or silver at the current prices they are at. That's the best way I can explain it. So I'm not in that position, so I can't say what I would do or what I wouldn't do. I was quite happy to buy, and I've openly said this before, an ounce of gold every month, but I've stopped. And the reason why I've stopped is because I believe that one of the other major investments that I've talked about tonight at quite length has been really volatile, and I've been watching that, and I've been aware of that, and I'm trying to pick that up at reasonable prices to get better value for money. Even now, still buying Bitcoin. Even now at these prices, not only what I can afford, So, back to Scott Silver's question, what do? It's one of those impossible questions to answer. Only you know it, and all I can say is you really, 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 really need to know what you're trying to achieve, and then educate yourself like there's no tomorrow. And you'll achieve it, because whether I was buying my gold at an average price of probably $1,550 across the whole portfolio of my gold portfolio, between $1,500 and $1,550, I look at that now, that was a good buy. But if I watch someone else that was buying it at 800,000, I can turn and say, oh God, yeah, mine isn't a good buy. But it is at the moment, when you look at it in fiat terms. And I love that expression, fiat terms. It's stupid, but it's real. Because at the end of the day, this has got value, but only when it's denominated in something else. Either money, or if the money doesn't exist, it's what you're going to exchange it for. But we don't live in that world, and hopefully we never get to that stage. Hopefully things will just progress naturally. So, yeah, Scott Silver, great question. It always makes me think. I have no idea whether people have followed this, whether they're falling asleep. Fuck, I don't care really. But if anyone actually gets through these sort of chats that I have, hopefully they can pick up some information. It's hard. I know you guys out there are busting your guts out. It ain't easy. It's not easy. I do personally believe we're going to go through more and the harder times. That worries me a little bit, especially for my children. But you can still protect yourself by educating yourself, and I think that's so important. Or be a lazy bastard and don't do anything. It's pretty simple, really. And if people are giving you free stuff, like I did recently, take advantage of it, Take advantage of it. So, yeah, I don't know whether that's answered the question in my head about what Scott Silver was asking. I think so, to a degree. I can't answer what would I actually do now. I think I would just genuinely have to, if I was thinking about it, I would have to look at what I can afford. One, you've got to educate yourself enough to believe that yes, that investment is worth it, and then two, work out how much you can afford to buy it. And if you can afford to buy it, I suppose buy it. If you can't afford to buy it, you're a fucking idiot. If you buy it, it's like it's no different. It's no different. You either go out and buy a new car because you can afford to buy the new car, or if you can't afford to buy the car, you're an idiot if you buy it. It's mad, and especially in these times when money isn't just being thrown around like it was before, when interest, we're borrowing. Don't even get me into borrowing and debt, for God's sake, man. It's crazy, but the same thing, you can either afford it, you can't afford it. If you believe in it and you can afford it, then you've got a great choice, haven't you? You've got a choice. No one's twisting your arm. Not at all. Never. No one should be, or hopefully no one should be twisting your arm. And the game will always be played out, whether you're in it, not in it. Comes down to our personal circumstances. It's tough. It's tough, and what I find increasingly frustrating is the perception of social media and the influence it has on us all. We've seen it through women talking about how they should look, and now that's a man thing as well. It's so much influence, and it happens in the finance world as well, in the creator space, in the precious metal space, in the Bitcoin space, in the crypto space, in the housing finance. It's a nightmare. It really is, but it's definitely worth dipping your toe in if you can afford to. And that's what it comes down to. Nothing more, nothing less. So there's a roundabout way on a Whiskey Wednesday. I don't think I swore too much. I think I was a good boy to a degree. I really wanted to be really nasty and passionate tonight. Not nasty, but really passionate. But I got sides. I'm really pleased I watched Scott Silver's video, because that really sort of made me think as well. It's hard, guys. I'm going to ramble on a little bit for a few more minutes. It is hard. Don't get me wrong. You look at all this. This is why I don't like all this stuff. I really don't, because it can put people off. Oh, it's all right for you, CPM. Look what you fucking got. yeah, good, fair point. Can't argue it. I can't argue that at all. Look what I've got. Lucky, but I had to make those decisions. And it's all right saying, yeah, this is not what I've got. I will legitimately say the figures I'm about to say is not what I've got, but it just makes it easy. So, say for argument's sake, I had 1,000 ounces of silver out, I know 100 ounces of gold, and 10 Bitcoin, and 10 grand's worth of cash. Lots of people can turn around and say, it's right for you. Yeah, that's true. It would be right for me. But even so, take away the cash out the window. Take it out the window, because everyone's like obsessed with cash and fiat currency, quite rightly so. The 1,000 ounces of silver weren't 1,000 ounces of silver. I still had, whether I had the money or not, obviously I could afford it. If I bought 1,000 ounces of silver, I could afford it. Maybe not, but I would say I wouldn't have done it if I couldn't afford it. So, but I still would have took the same risk assessment in doing it. I still had to transfer hard-earned money, energy, or whatever, inherent, whatever, however you got the money. Still had to take that risk and put it into silver. Now silver's gone up, so yeah, everyone's on the bandwagon. Everyone's going, oh, it's right for you. You'll make, every time it goes up £1, you're making £1,000 at spot price. And gold, same with gold. You know, your 100 ounces of gold, every time it goes up 100 quid, yeah, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money in value. Until you try and sell it, of course. That's another video. And the same with Bitcoin, you know. Bitcoin, it's like 50 odd £1,000, and if you had 10 of it, that's a lot of money. But it's irrelevant. People are playing with trillions, billions. Same dilemma, but they have a massive effect on the market. Today, while I'm drinking my drink and finishing off, today I watched Bitcoin come down. Wow. At certain stages it was fluctuating. It could probably come down $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, £2,500, £3,000. Get to a certain level, and within 10 minutes, £1,000 bought up. $2,000 bought up, and then drop again, then go up again, and drop again, and go up. Well, someone's selling, someone's buying, someone's playing games. Somebody's playing games, but they're playing games for their game to play out, for whatever reason, to make money or part of their gameplay of what they're doing. And we're sitting there thinking, oh my God, it's too volatile, this isn't really going to do what it's going to do. But it gave me so much confidence today in Bitcoin to see that, because there's a game being played out, and it's not negative. There's a bit of positivity in there. There's people accumulating large portions of money, pushing the price. Imagine how much it takes to move Bitcoin $1,000, $2,000 or pounds. It's not 20 quid. That's some serious money. Serious money. You know? I mean, it was yesterday. And the same happens on gold and silver, and probably on other stocks and shares and other things, you know, houses, whatever. But I think yesterday there was, on the blockchain, someone bought $500 million. Or something, an institution bought just $500 million. $500 million. That's not my league. But that's the game that's being played out. You know, if someone's investing in $500,000 and leaving it there, probably not going to touch it because they concede something, they believe in whatever. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It has to make you sit there and think about, because to me, that means just as much, you know, 20 quid, 20 euros, $20, you know, just at my level, you know, in my Bitcoin, my silver or my gold. It's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. That's the way I look at it. But I've got to be confident of it. And I can't be confident of it if I'm just asking everyone else, what do I do? You need to do your research. You need to do your educational route. You need to make mistakes. You need to take risks, but you need to limit risks. You need to find people that you can trust and follow and disagree with and agree with, and that's the way. And I know it's hard. I know it's really hard, but it works. It works. If you want to get rich, you got to get lucky. If you want to get wealthy, you got to educate yourself. Trust no one. Verify everything. Thank you very much for listening. Love you all. Take care. See you later. Bye.